Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anca and I do art and illustration related videos and sometimes tattoo related videos. So if you're into that, make sure you subscribe and check out the other videos on my channel. So in today's video, I wanted to talk a bit about how I choose my colors for my illustrations, how to create a bold and striking contrast in your illustrations, and how my thought process works when I choose my colors. So before I talk about my personal preferences, I want to get a bit into color theory just so you have a general idea of where to start. When thinking about colors, of course, we always think about the color wheel, which has primary colors in it, and depending on where the colors are situated in the wheel, you can have complementary colors or analogous colors. So complementary colors are the ones that are opposite from each other on the color wheel. So red is opposite of green, so those two are complementary. Purple is opposite of yellow, and blue is opposite of orange. So basically these are your complementary color combinations. These are naturally pleasing to the eye usually, and they make for a great high contrast in illustrations. You also have analogous colors which are next to each other in the color wheel. So basically if you would mix yellow and an orange, you would get kind of a ochre yellow or something like that, and those are analogous colors. Now with analogous colors you can build contrast through value, which basically means adding different shades of the same color will build up contrast. I personally prefer using complementary color contrast. I think it makes for a more striking look to my illustrations. So here I will demonstrate some of my favorite color combinations. As I said, I like to mix my colors and also keep the color wheel in mind when doing so. So some of my favorite colors are teal and yellow together. I like to add white to my teal color just so it has a more milky look, and I think it looks perfect with a yellow. For blues, I like to use reds in contrast and oranges, and also play around with values from the blue. For greens, I like to use also reds and oranges, and for indigos I like to go with yellows and mix yellows with green. So these would be my color combinations that I personally prefer. I also like to add sometimes pinks and siennas just so I have a bit of variety in the color, but something I keep in mind when doing illustrations is to limit my color palette to 3 to 4 main colors, and if I do want to add more, I will play around with the value of the colors, not adding more colors, because then you would just have kind of a rainbow effect and the contrast is not quite there. So to demonstrate the way I use colors, I made this Halloween inspired spread in my sketchbook. I made these illustrations as products for my Patreon, so if you're interested in that, I will leave a link to my Patreon. But overall, when I think about colors and starting an illustration, I usually go to my safe zone, which is teal and yellow. And here in this illustration spread, I use two main color combinations that I like, which is teal and yellow and red and blue. So you can use like complementary colors, a bunch of them in one illustration. They will look good as long as you keep them limited and you don't add too many shades of them or too many values of them, if that makes sense. I usually get inspiration for my colors either browsing Pinterest, where you have dozens of color combinations. It's very helpful to do a mood board dedicated exclusively to your color choices, and when you browse through it, you can actually see which colors you are most drawn to. For me, it's mostly greens and blues, and I usually add accents of warmer colors, which are reds and yellows. There isn't a general rule to color choices. If you want your illustrations to have a high contrast, I would suggest going for complementary colors. It usually makes for a very interesting and bold illustration, but you can also go with softer shades and wash them down and reduce the hue and saturation, but play around with the values of the color. It's really a personal preference, and I just wanted to let you guys know how my thought process works. I have my color combinations already kind of set in place, so when I start an illustration, I kind of know which shades I gravitate towards, especially if you're using the same paints over and over again, or if you are using Procreate, then it makes things much easier because in Procreate you can actually customize color palettes for any specific look you want. So my general conclusion for this video is for you to start studying a bit the color wheel and how colors work together. You can go either with the complementary contrast or the value contrast. It's really up to you, or you can mix both in an illustration. But I think with colors you just have to have fun with it and experiment and see what works for you, and see how you can create a higher contrast and make some elements of the illustrations pop more than others. But this just comes with time and experience and a lot of research and a lot of trial and error. And I know it took me years to be comfortable with having a certain color palette and not trying to figure out what colors I should use each time. So I hope you find this video helpful. I hope you like this illustration. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!